Welcome to another edition of XFeed. My name is The Schiller. From Monday through Friday, we talk about NFTs, the space, different stories that I've experienced, things that I've partaken in, and trying to give a different perspective just so you have one. Anyway, let's get into things. Talking about CyberKongs right off the rip, how they raised $20,000 at launch and have done a ton of things like the banana token, the babies, the play and collect, everything that they're doing. Obviously, big investments within the sandbox for creating huge landscapes down there. Yo, Jeremy, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man? We got to hang out more than just Suns games. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But good to see you, boss. And it's interesting to see how we have some teams that have like literally nothing to work with, and they've done a lot and arguably outperformed things that have raised multiple millions and even close to billions overall throughout everything that they've launched collectively. There's only one reason why celebs are attracted to the space. They're able to leverage the clout of nerd influencers that are desperate for mainstream attention, but they'll leave you high and dry, some quicker than others. You're being used and it's ruining the crypto space. Now, for anybody that has no idea what the hell this is talking about, basically there's been a ton of celebrities that have gotten into the crypto space, started advertising, hey, we're doing a token, we're doing yada, yada, yada. And sometimes they stick around for a little bit, but most of the times it's kind of spur of the moment. Hey, trying to take advantage of what's out there, and then bada boom, they're gone. Think of from a year from now, think back to a year from now, think back to 2 years from now. How many celebrities that got into the space before are still here? Very, very few. And the ones that were have been called out by Zach saying, hey, there was all these collections that you were into that you launched, and there's been absolutely nothing you've done with them. And it's like, okay, dude. Now, some random thoughts here, but I think that the play is nostalgia. As we've talked about with the Pokemon card collecting as of recently, and again, I've not really bought anything within like the past 2 weeks. I got into it, and then I'm like, man, like this is just kind of annoying to deal with the shipping. If I ever want to sell these things, trying to go through the effort, like I guess I'm just collecting for the sake of liking them. And then the realization, okay, do you do it on chain now? That there's all those options to do it in person. There's just all these questions. Anywho, one of the main aspects of it is, hey, like when I was a kid, I used to love watching the Pokemon TV show, and I mean Yu-Gi-Oh, all those kind of different things. And you know, what was that time? Well, when I was a kid, there's almost nothing within the space right now. I guess Pudgy Penguins and V-Friends that are targeting a younger audience, and I guess over time this is what we're talking about the long-term aspect of things. And I think there should be something to be said for those different collections, IPs, and brands that are targeting a younger audience. Now, speaking of Pudgy Penguins, it does look like you got a couple of games coming up. Polar, Pair Up, Rog and Fish, and Belly Board. All these seem kind of like, I mean, the quick looks of it are like a mobile game, so it'll be interesting to see what the takeoff of that is. Now, McDonald's. Some information here. Yo, Ben Watson, what's going on? Thank you, boss. Appreciate it. McDonald's and the metaverse. Now, this is something that happened over in Singapore, but I guess they launched these Grimace NFTs, and they had a Soulbound NFT that you were able to get. They're building something within Sandbox that you'll get kind of extra perks in and whatnot, but kind of reading over the article, it didn't seem anything too outlandish, but there is a Build-A-Burger as a wild thing to see on the timeline. Greg saying, what the hell happened to Azerbala? Let's check on in here. The last post was January 12th. Oh my goodness. So for anybody that doesn't know, Azerbala was something that was created from Jenkins the Valet. Now, this was a collection that way back when Bored Apes first came out, there was kind of a grant for people to create projects, things for apes in general, and Jenkins the Valet decided to create a character from his ape. And it was the character of a valet. They had a whole bunch of different stories that was written, and basically like a main book that was launched, and then they decided to spread out and launch their own IP, and the initial launch of that went horrible. So you might be familiar with Thread Guy. He took a huge amount of heat for it because he was like the director of vibes, and a lot of people were like, yo, if you looked at the start, I mean, you should have been directing something a little bit of a different way. And so that was that was one of the main things that Thread Guy was known for at a point. And they ended up raising like $12 million as well. But the fact that they haven't posted in a while, apparently one of the main team members left in Safa. I went to the Jenkins the Valet lunch in New York a couple of years ago at NFT NYC, so I'm not really sure what is going on with that, but it sucks because a lot of these big players that have the bigger funding that we think, hey, things are going to continue to happen with it, feels like it's not happening. Now, again, this could just be a communication thing, but the last post being in January, at least socially, that feels a little bit odd. Now, Mr. Root here highlighting something from Mint Pass, and they're saying we're teaming up with Expedia, a global leader in travel services, to offer their supply network to travelers via the Mint Pass app. Now, from my understanding, Mint Pass was a part of, like, I don't know if it was the Born Ready Ventures or one of the things that Futureverse had on the side, but in terms of like big names within the space, very interesting to see that Expedia is doing something that involves the blockchain. Now, one thing that I really, really hate about this space is that because of everybody getting a whole bunch of money, and obviously you have to pay the team, you have to pay the legal fees, yada, 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 I don't know why there hasn't been more, hey, let's pay a couple members of the community to either create an animation, create different artwork. This is just something that I think whoever the Happy Ape is made, and it's, it's a little drawing of an ape, and it's got a bird in a tree, and I don't know, it feels kind of nice, you know what I mean? Like, it's given something that's a little bit of emotion. Doesn't need to be crazy, but I'm surprised there's not more funds kind of put to the side to try to encourage other people or pay different individuals to create pieces that are kind of just cool to add to the narrative overall. So, with that said, moving over to XRP from Brad Garlinghouse with a quote, "It's strange to me that XRP is in such a unique position and the market hasn't kind of rewarded that." And so, apologies for that. It's strange to me that XRP is in such a unique position and the market hasn't kind of rewarded that, coming from Brad Garlinghouse. And there's a couple different posts that he has that I'm going to go through with this, but it is interesting that XRP feels like it's in an interesting time, talking about where they're working, who they're partnering with. And again, obviously the SEC with having to pay like $1 billion. Imagine having to pay $1 billion for something absolutely insane. Here's a update from Deadfellas. Apparently they're bringing horror to Web3.
Good morning, mechanic. There is an emergency maintenance call on decommissioned sublevel 103. Please be careful. Our last team did not return, and I don't trust those other mechanics. Good luck, mechanic.
All right, so something new from Deadfellas again on the sandbox. I mean, I don't know. I feel like everything within the space we have like some kind of like a connotation to. You know what I mean? There's some people that I know that absolutely love the sandbox, and other people that I know that are just like, another topic, Mr. Shella. But still cool to see the Deadfellas is branching off to different platforms and trying to bring some scary spookiness to the gaming space. Imagine spending tens of thousands of an NFT and not getting the physical print because you missed an arbitrary claim window. Also, the company selling the NFTs can save a few bucks by not printing them all out. Imagine a company going above and beyond for collectors instead. Now, I'm going to go to the limit and say I think this is because, or like in reference to the collection from Yuga, the 12-fold, where there was the claim that we highlighted the other day. And yeah, it does feel kind of weird that there is like a claim window for that, but I guess at the same time, people want to move on with things, and yeah, I mean, I guess it just kind of is what it is. Now, some random Pokemon news here, and the discussion of AI, because it feels like, at least on my timeline, we haven't had like legitimately any discussion about AI on the blockchain whatsoever over the past little bit, at least on my feed, except for this. And so I guess there was a Pokemon art contest, similar like how we've had within the NFT space, and there was a couple of people that got into I don't know if they say the number here, 6 finalist entries. So I think it was like 300 or 150 that made it into the final, but here's a couple of ones that were AI generated. And so everybody absolutely lost their mind within the comments, sharing it all. Like the whole contest went super viral for it. And it was probably one of the first things that I noticed of just an AI impacting something that I kind of follow passively. And I'm like, I wonder if we're going to see this happening more on the timeline. But here's another piece from Kay here. And I just thought that was cool as a fraligator swimming in the lake. Again, these cool things. I don't know why more collections. Obviously, this is Pokemon, but why more NFT based or Web3 based brands don't have things that are similar? So, what if Artifact is able to establish the brand and create products and experiences that the world would love to have? So, there's still been a lot of conversation around the Nike Dunk Genesis Low. For anybody that doesn't know, Artifact was acquired by Nike, and there's been a lot of back and forth about holders from before feeling like, oh, we got burned on things. But within this post, they talk about, what if they're able to create something that people would love? And every single day, I would say most of the world wears Nike shoes, and it's just the main thing, right? You go anywhere, and it's just a huge piece of it. And what if they were able to recreate that on these metaverses, in these metaverses? Is that going to be a thing? Is it different between the traditional world to this? Are they going to create something that people really like? And it is that much revolutionary. Very interesting to see amongst all kind of the negativity with some positivity. Now, for you NBA fans, obviously we got a big game coming up in about an hour. Just heard an insane stat. A Celtics championship would end a 5-year title drought in Boston. Only 5 years, which is the second longest the city has ever experienced since the Celtics, Bruins, Patriots, and Red Sox all existed. Imagine having a team that wins that often. A couple tweets here from Alex Becker. There simply is an extremely high chance that one of the well-funded and super high-quality Web3 games releasing in the next 12 months goes mainstream. And with that all gaming coins send to insanity, it's likely to happen, easy to bet. Now, this is a very interesting point simply because people like to speculate. RDL, what's going on, boss? How are you? And it's all about the sectors, right? It felt like within NFTs, we had different sectors, from people being excited about DAOs to secondary collections. It was a time that if you had a collection and you were saying, hey, we're going to launch a second one that we're going to airdrop to people, everyone, oh my God, we're going to get free NFTs. Let's pay attention to that. And there was the token meta as well. Hey, if you're able to stake for a token, or if you have an NFT, you'll get a token. That was another thing. And so the speculation, I feel, is very much lost right now. Everybody's like, oh my goodness, everything seems to be falling out. We'll get into the Blur debacle. If you haven't seen that, people are absolutely freaking out because the bids are getting yanked, and people, I think, got caught off guard that just happened. But some people are saying, hey, this is actually a bottom. A very interesting point. If we do see one Web3 game go, does that mean everything? And I don't know. Maybe. I think so. We'll see. Here is the reality on alts. We have more liquidity than ever, but are stretched to the brink. As we've highlighted, 400,000 different tokens created like this year just on Solana. There will be a rush back to quality, aka all money going into fewer coins and narratives here soon. Combined with the Bitcoin charging, this will trigger the next run. Easy win from here, the end. Again, very bullish talks. We've seen some things not going too great in the timeline, but we'll see. Now, Tencent has a highlight of esports. And again, I've always highlighted, I love watching esports, League of Legends, all that kind of stuff. And this is showing what the Apple Vision Pro would look like if you're watching it, and the immersion, the extra aspects, the side windows that they were showing just a second ago. Hopefully this flicks back through, but does show the potential that all of this is, and very, very excited to see this kind of portrayed across various different entertainment platforms, but obviously anything within a competitive environments for sports, esports are going to be what's the main cause of that. But when do VR headsets take off? Now, guys, I do a real world asset podcast called RWA Segments. If you are on X, it's in my bio or in the YouTube description below. And the episode launching tomorrow is with the founder of Collector Crypt. And they do sports, Pokemon cards, and whatnot on chain. And they had a LeBron James PSA 9, and I guess that it sold for $1,350. This guy was like I'm going to mess up the term, but he was like a former semi-pro out of New York when the game first started, was sitting on a ton of Magic cards, decided to get into the space, had his insane background, and really, really cool to hear him talk about things. And he's actually an ETH maxi, but they launched on Solana. And now it's another common trend, because I did another interview, which is going to be launched the week after, and it was another collection that's on Solana. And I'm like, damn, all these applications and things that I'm seeing regarding the real world asset side seem to be choosing Solana. Not Not all of them, but a lot of them. So if you're interested in learning more about how Pokemon cards are getting tokenized and how if you're wanting to get some liquidity to send them in, be sure to check that out on the RWA Segments podcast. Now, In-Betweeners, this is the collection that, again, Justin Bieber's been rocking before. His friend is the artist of that, and they've had some really just strange happenings of like, hey, you get like this airport VIP access if you have the NFTs, but they just made another post saying, take a detailed look at the essential fan box designed by Gian Piero, exclusively available in the In-Betweeners / Juventus x Adidas 1897 collection. Again, these are big brands. Juventus, the football team, and Adidas, okay, not bad. Each tier includes a limited edition fan box filled with unique collector's items from this release, including an In-Betweeners branded mini soccer ball, scarf, and hat. The collection launches on June 28th on OpenSea. And another weird thing is that OpenSea seems to be still launching a lot of different collections or NFTs of various sorts. But the aspect with this is, as you see, you're getting something with this where it's like the real world asset. It's not simply just an NFT. And it feels like we're getting to the point where, hey, you're not just buying a digital collectible, you are getting something physical as well. Now, always, we've been highlighting stuff that's going on with Futureverse. The AAA genre-defining metaverse gaming experience. Seeing that we've got 70 million views on that, listen, I think that stuff's cool, but, having views versus getting people to come out and actually play those experiences, I'm waiting to see. The team said that this is going to be a big week. Very interested to know if we get like a launch date for this or what, because we still have the Third Kingdom to come out, but still very interesting to see something within the Web3 space getting 70 million views on socials. Let's jump into Blur. And if you guys are liking the stream, I would love if you're able to share it or give this a like. Appreciate you guys so much. A single Blur farmer, CBB0FE, is now earning more Blur points than the next 50 farmers combined. So there is an absolute mega whale that we're going to dive into the details here over the next little bit. Now, this is nothing to do with NFTs, but I want to just highlight this because it feels to me, right, where we're at a point when you have 605 takes on the timeline. I've been disgustingly wrong. Other people have been disgustingly wrong. But this is a post where the Florida Panthers acquired Matthew Tkachuk. And this guy said, with an 8-year extension, sorry, y'all, I don't have it in my heart to go through another rebuild, pure and simple. Dale Talon sunk this franchise. Then they proceeded to go to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. Just showing how things can be utterly wrong, but we read them on socials and we think, you know what? Maybe they are right. Now, a couple things regarding just notoriety. The Plague here looking to be on a boxing fight. One of the fighters wearing a Plague shirt. Again, one of the Web3 brands. And then over on the Big Three, the Ronin Network is sponsoring one of the teams on that. And somebody just highlighted 1 million viewers live witnessing the Ron logo. Guys, we're seeing the logos. That means we're going to moon. Right. True. And this is kind of a weird point, and I think we're going to see this potentially a little bit more, but within the League of Legends esports scene, they have made this post where they're saying, support the LCS teams directly with the official LCS Tibbers plush. So when we talk about the middlemen, when we talk about these companies launching things and them saying, hey, here's a way that you can support the team directly, does that happen within Web3? Because we have this notion about, hey, we're cutting out the middlemen and whatnot. And this is kind of the way of knowing, hey, this is exactly where your money is going to help support directly what you love. Now, there's a little bit of negativity on this post, but it's a cool graphic, so we're going to talk about it. And can you name all the different projects within here? So this is Genesis Undead. I'm kind of forgetting it. We have MFers, Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is like Dilly, Dads, something I forget. D-Gods, Pudgy Penguins, Miladies, The Plague, I don't know what the bone is, V-Friends, CryptoPunks, McDonald, CryptoPunks, CryptoDad, CryptoPunks 2.0, I guess, I don't know. Azuki, I forget. Root Troop, I think this, is that? No, that's the CS Becker thing or Oni Force. We have On-Chain Monkey, Opepins, Kaiju Kings, Moonbirds, Artifact. Like, we can go through this whole list, right? And there is like so many different collections out there, and it's interesting that how many of them can you name are still around? How many of them can you name what they do? How many of them have broken through in any kind of capacity, like any kind of capacity, right? And I feel like there is a huge disconnect for somebody that's trying to come into the space, and it argues the question of like, okay, like what's the point of this Web3 thing? Because we have kind of like this tribalistic view that everybody says of, hey, you know, you focus on your bags, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, if there's somebody like the idea with this is just, hey, this is a different form of technology. These IP and brands were incepted on chain and probably got a lot more funding than traditional methods of things. But still, there's a massive amount of support and these things can keep running for a long time. This is a hard quiz. Too many NFT collections. True, true, true. I mean, that's Three Landers. We got Invisible Friends, Cyberkongs. Yeah, I'm not going to try. But we listen, if you gave me a little bit of time, we could probably get them all. Okay, so apparently this collection did really well and came out of kind of nowhere. You might have seen it, but it is LTE, less than 3. Embrace Your Heart's development, 50 million plus on TikTok. Haven't come across a newly formed community this strong in a long time. Well, respectfully, that's the first red flag when they say, hey, here's a strong community. But this is, I guess, like a collection of some different characters. Again, all these things, it's about setting vibes, creating something kind of cool that other people are going to connect with on an artwork side of things. So if you think that's cool, then you can check that out. But it looks like the fact that it's on OpenSea and Magic Eden, I'm assuming this is on Solana with 13,000 followers, randomly popped up on my timeline. Okay, Overworld, we've highlighted it before. They raised a whole bunch of money. This was the talk of the town on the timeline, and it feels like it's not on the timeline as much. But here is their, I want to get the term right, teaser of our AAA title. High expectations going in. I'm ready. They didn't show anything. Guys, what kind of AAA teaser what was that? That was just a bunch of canyons and like a character walking. What are the comments? Need some grape juice for hydration. The music build up slaps. Okay, these people are all getting paid. What rewards await you? What dangers? It slaps hard. Love the art here. Banger. Built in Unreal 5. Built for Web3. Guys, this space is, I'm not trying to FUD your listen, respectfully, I'm not trying to FUD your bags if you're into that. But what the hell was that for a AAA title teaser? Like, no shot. No friggin' shot. It didn't show anything. Yo, exactly. Trader Pops, these need to be a bit more catchy. Agreed. A cinematic trailer. We want gameplay. We want gameplay. True. Okay, Ripple CEO confirms Ripple is working with 10 governments around the world on central bank digital currencies. Very interesting. A lot of talks about banks on the timeline. But speaking of the timeline, Alex Cobb saying the timeline feels like a bottom. Guys, listen, we're not fighting each other. We're not fighting each other, but like everybody else is, and it it feels kind of crazy. Now, another kind of random thing here is in like esports, I guess it was a tournament, and there was somebody that was like watching somebody else's stream, and they're like, I have inside information. I heard about this because I went into their stream for a second half. They were talking about picking Twisted Fate and Quinn. And so the tournament organizers, like, very sad to hear. We will talk to the team and see what we can do. Bro, why is it that people have like tournaments with like strict rules and then there's never like yeah, they're absolutely disqualified because those people cheated? It's listen, let's lay down the hammer. We need to see The hammer laid down. We need good games. We need mainstream adoption. Listen, we need a lot. We need this, that, blah, blah, blah. No, we need speculation. Just like every other sector in crypto has, currently there is zero speculation in crypto games. People used to play the absolute crappiest Web3 games for the fact of one thing alone: return on investment. Now games do their best to hide the earnings and crypto side of the game when their core audience is not Web 2 gamers, it's Web 3 incumbents. I understand we don't want the Ponzi games back, but the user has to feel something on top of the game experience for it to hit the hardest in crypto. I mean, listen, I think there's just like a lot of people that just aren't enjoying a lot of the games that are going on right now. I agree that like the speculation has been kind of killed. Now, I would make the argument maybe that founders were very sorry, how do I word this? They were very lenient in trying to provide alpha or encourage speculation on the timeline. And because things obviously either took longer or the markets didn't react positively to good news, again, having utilities bad in some cases, right? That's the narrative. And so I kind of get it. But with that being said, I think that like founders as a whole that are able to give those kind of like insider bits and whatnot have kind of reined in the reels just a little bit because of backlash, et cetera, et cetera. Now, to be totally honest, sports people on X are probably the dumbest people you've ever met. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So this guy is talking about a play. I can't play the clip because I'm gonna get DMCA'd or whatever. But Yankees are facing the Red Sox, and this guy was going on about like, yeah, the hip check was unnecessary. And then this dude's like, buddy, what, where's the hip check? Are you telling me that that's not a hip check right now? The ball is over here. Buddy's hip checking him. And this guy says, sorry, where are you seeing the hip check? I'm sorry. Get some glasses. I can let you borrow mine if you want. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. David Phelps saying this has to be the strangest era in crypto I can remember. The tech is finally ready to be used at scale, but almost nothing useful is being built. This is nearly the exact opposite of how it was in 2017 and 2021. Now, I don't know if the argument of like nothing useful is being built, but it does seem weird. Like, I mean, at least for me, I'm like, okay, like I want to play these games. I've done like a couple of them. And I'm like, this is not that fun. I'm just going to play like the traditional League of Legends, Pokemon TCG, whatever, go watch a TV show and just kind of vibe out. But it is very interesting that we just call everything strange. People hating on the timeline, people calling bottoms, other people saying this is going to be the easiest run of your life. Yeah, it's all over the place. Hi, I got 3 words that make it better. The Third Kingdom. True. Hopefully we'll get an announcement on that soon and maybe live and we can go into it. Now, this is a really cool story. If you guys haven't seen, basically there is an account that Pudgy Penguins created called Pudgy Kindness. I don't really know if they do this all the time or if this is just something they did and it was a hit and they showed it. So apologies for my ignorance on it. But this is a guy that used to work with Disney and he started streaming. He didn't really have many views. So they donated a couple $100 or something to him and gave his story. And then the clip of that ended up going viral. And now the guy just absolutely blew up and Pudgy Penguins are sharing it like crazy, and really cool to see kind of a Web3 brand making an impact on the traditional world. Now, this is kind of weird. Gino the Ghost highlighting how this Wall Street Bets account has been out there trying to highlight or like just offer and say, yo, we'll highlight your coin if you pay us. And I feel like there's a lot of kind of like shady things that are going on right now that a lot of people realize and whatnot, but just like triple double reminder that certain accounts have absolutely been sold in the space and they'll do anything for a couple of bucks. So just be aware. Now, Ronin, we've highlighted it a little bit here, but apparently they're all the way up at 3.7 million monthly active addresses. Insane. Love to see it. Ton of people using the chain for gaming. Highlighting here of the artifact shoes in person, just in case none of you guys have seen them. We obviously talk about it a lot here, but they do look actually pretty nice. And I think they were only like $200. Sorry, I shouldn't say only $200. And again, that's American. If it was Canadian, I'd be like, okay, it's only $200 Canadian. But if US, holy jeez, that's a lot of money. But still cool to see on the timeline. Sounds like the Mark stats, true. SEC's head of crypto asset and cyber unit departs after nearly 9 years. Now, there's a couple ways of looking at this. First of all, I think that if you were doing whatever this job was a couple years ago, be like, okay, there's a couple things you got to look at. Nowadays, holy shit, you're looking at everything. The new chains having to follow it. Like, I feel it's like 350 times more stressful than it was. But at the same time, maybe it was like a review and they're like, hey, we've had all these collapses, these bad incidents, and you guys have not figured out how to do anything. Now, I don't know the specific details of things. I haven't looked into the article. Do your own research if you want to check it out. But there was a fake article that went out highlighting saying that person went to go take a position at pump.fun. Now, if anybody doesn't know, Solana has a protocol that's called pump.fun. You can launch a token, it takes like seconds. And so it was kind of a meme. And I don't know if how that got launched as a story, because somebody published that as kind of a fake, hey, engagement, and then Binance friggin' wrote an article about it, and everybody thought that it was true, and then they had to go, space is wild. Anyway, crazy news out of the gaming space here that caused a ton of backlash, and I guess to the point of blockchains and transparencies. Will be interesting if we have any notable founders out there that have insane salaries. Don't know if those will ever get released, but Electronic Arts execs multiple earned $60 million in 2024 despite layoffs and office closures. CEO Andrew Wilson received almost half of that total. So well over $20 million as CEO, with a whole bunch of people losing their jobs. Again, very interesting. I think we get mad on the timeline and then you'll go and you'll buy the FIFA game every year or whatever, right? But it is very interesting to see how top heavy it is towards this. Now, I don't know how to react to this. So Atari, maybe you can help me, or anybody else that's within or familiar with the Doodles community. So Doodles announced that they are moving over to Base for their studio. Now, from my understanding, they were on Flow. And so this would take them from Flow to Base. And that means Flow either isn't what they expected they were going to be, Base offered something more. There's some very, very mad people I've seen on my timeline that we're going to kind of get into a second regarding about Flow's kind of slow rollings, investing in the wrong things. Obviously, they have kind of monopoly on a couple of the different sports IPs, but it's been kind of all over the place. But Niansel's here saying, you're telling me that Doodles is launching a movie with Pharrell Williams, Lil Wayne with music from the biggest stars in the world in 3 months, and the biggest player in the space will be deeply incentivized to promote it and onboard into the studio via the new smart wallet? Fascinating developments. So again, kind of cool. Again, most people are very bullish on Base just because obviously of Coinbase, but still will be excited to see what all of this means. Apparently they have 3 insane songs recorded. They're editing now. Okay, insane by whose standards? Listen, by whose standards? Jesus Martinez saying Ember Sword launched 2 days ago, 29,000 volume. I don't know in what currency, but 60 billion fully diluted value. Why are people stealth launching in the middle of a gaming downtrend? How do you react to this? I've followed Ember Sword a little bit. I don't have any of the assets. I just remember the land sale from forever ago. And I've been passively looking on it. We've brought it up occasionally here on the stream, but it did feel like it was a very, very soft launch. Stealth launch, I suppose so. If you guys didn't know, House of the Dragon, the episode launched yesterday. I usually get a ton of advertisements whenever it's launched, and I have, a month prior, but I didn't even know. I honestly didn't even know that it was out until today. So that's interesting. But another interesting point. According to the Doodles Council, absolutely no bias in that one. A farmer just dumped 23 of his 33 penguins and sent them below 10 ETH. There's also 100 liquidation auctions that get triggered if the Bendao Oracle updates to accurately reflect the current floor. This isn't how I imagined Penguin Summer. Now, it's interesting because there are different protocols out there where you're able to lend things, and a lot of people don't pay attention to them, but sometimes there are hundreds of assets up for liquidation that could get triggered on sells. People could end up keeping them. We don't really know, but the Blur bids seemingly ended today. And again, a lot of talk on the timeline for that, but just keep an eye. Do we see NFTs in a free fall? Do we see them hover about the same? The questions about did Blur hurt or help NFTs? I guess those questions will soon to be figured out. WonderFi here. Again, big Canadian news. WonderFi transforms market with launch of institutional crypto service CoinSquare Alpha. And a quote here from Kevin O'Leary. I think the Canadians are the shining model of what will happen in other geographies. My auditors and compliance department can mark to market positions daily, just like they do in our equity and bond portfolios. Now, again, I've always thought it seems pretty fluid for me within Canada. I haven't really had too many issues with anything crypto related. Obviously, they've had different. I'm trying to think the limits of like what you can put in each year versus like how much money you have and some of these like other like finite details and whatnot. But generally speaking, it's felt like pretty good being like a Canadian within the crypto space. And so them opening up institutional holdings, whatever the service is, very, very interesting. And if they're saying, hey, this is a framework for others, that could be kind of cool. Now, a moment ago, we talked about liquidations and different things, and this one's kind of weird, and I feel bad, but Joe Mangrum here highlighting how they built kind of an entire IP brand, here, I guess I should follow this, around their ape, but unfortunately, due to the flooring protocol, if you know what that is a platform that basically took NFTs and then they fractionalized them within tokens to make them a hell of a lot more liquid. And then there's Parallel Finance, where Parallel Finance has kind of like the BendDAO, NFTFi lending platforms, borrowing platform. And it also has like a thing where if you don't have enough ape token, you can stake your ape in the platform, borrow the ape coin to stake the ape. So that's kind of a lot. But there was like an issue or something with the specific borrowing and lending aspect. And so he built like all this IP up for it and put a ton of money into it, but it got liquidated within this hack or exploit that happened. And so that sucks. But just highlighting, guys, if you are building anything within the space, don't have them on these platforms, please, or don't have anything where it's at risk of being stolen, because I've seen this a whole bunch of times. We saw this with Cameron Molyneux and the, I don't even know if they're still doing anything, non-fungible Heroes, the movie thing. I don't even know if those guys are still around anymore, but he had his ape compromised. There's a little bit of a different thing, but again, a lot of people building things out, and it just sucks seeing that kind of things on the timeline. Don't you guys have strict regs in Canada? So it's like you're not supposed to put in more than like $25,000 a year in something that's not like the 4 big coins that they call like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and I apologize, but I forget the 4th one, and I don't know if there's anything else. Interact e-transfer is a big thing across the board. Some banks, including MasterCards, are really weird with crypto transactions. I did the Project Tempest claim. That was an NFT, not really the same as crypto per se, but that had no issues. Have had other things getting declined. I don't know if there's anything else that's kind of crazy, but if you have any specific questions, I might be able to answer. But yeah, that's what I know off the top of my head. Okay, so this is crazy. Listen, heads up. Seriously, if you're on X right now, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to your settings. You're going to go to privacy and safety, and then content you see. So if you're on your PC, grab your phone right quick. We're going to walk through this together. Settings, privacy and safety, and then content you see. And then you'll click on interests, and you'll find a huge list of shit you didn't even know the timeline is feeding you because it thinks that you're interested in it. And I did this earlier and I was like, oh my God, it thinks like I'm interested in like all these coins that I don't know, these celebrities, these athletes, these terms, I don't even know what the hell they mean. And so I unchecked a whole bunch of things. Maybe this will fix your timeline. Maybe it won't, but it's genuinely a thing. And I was floored to find out about it. So again, settings, privacy and safety, content you see, click an interest and uncheck as much as you want, but apparently it does rate limit as well. So don't do it all in one single go. And again, if you guys are just tuning in, would love for you to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment if you're watching this afterwards. And for you guys here live, appreciate the hell out of you. Justin, Tether, the world's largest stablecoin launches new synthetic dollar backed by gold. Peter Schiff absolutely loves it, I bet. But this is kind of interesting where we're seeing more and more things come on the blockchain, this time not backed by dollar, backed by gold. And you can buy the token. How crazy. Yo, Atari, you got some crazy interest? Okay. Good to see you. We're going to fix up your timeline, man. So, this is some Overwatch news, and kind of, I feel like I want to relate this back to NFTs here because we've seen like collaborations between different collections, and like 9 times out of 10, we're all like, okay, why? This hasn't done anything. Like, this is very beneficial for one side, not so much another, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess Transformers is now going to have some skins in Overwatch, and I've never known Overwatch to have skins that are brand-based. Fortnite typically is that, but I guess this kind of highlights the interoperability aspect. Are we getting to a stage where all these brands are just going to be working together because they need to get people to buy different things and they can be mutually beneficial? Now, we got self-help on the timeline, so that just tells you how things are going within the space, but Leo Trades here saying, right now, crypto is going through a sentiment trap. Usually, max toxicity equals max opportunity. Growth is programmed in crypto, but you won't be there to experience it if you get dragged into negativity. Your daily crypto regime must be programmed for longevity. Healthy routine of exercise and diet, proper sleep, stuff that motivates you besides coins. A thesis beyond. This is pumping right now. Guys, self-help on the timeline. Oh my goodness. If you have these elements, you can sidestep the negativity and see the sentiment trap for what it is. Traditional markets are going wild and crypto will soon join the party. I sincerely hope you're all there to experience it. I just love the timeline. Listen, we're bullish at the same time that you might be feeling a little bit bearish. Now, to give you some bull vibes, $3.77 billion in NFT sales in Q1 of this year. 3.77 billion. We are a 2.8x in traded volume away from the all-time high NFT trading from last bull cycle. The total NFT trading volume in Q1 of 2021 was nearly 1.5 billion. The all-time high of the last NFT bull market was in Q3 of 2021, with total traded volume peaked at 10.7 billion. Holy sugar. The cycle has not rotated to NFTs yet. NFTs will make a comeback. Now, I feel like we have to preface this where it's going to look very different. And the reason it's going to look different is because people aren't just going to be like, hey, okay, we're going to buy this because it's simply going up. I think the aspect of like due diligence, research, maybe we have like a meme coin cycle within this, but I think there's almost like too much utility, and real world assets are a good point of this, where for myself doing this podcast, I'm like, holy geez, there is so many things of like actual tangible value where you might have had a hard time talking with friends and family of like, hey, we think these things are going to be cool. It's almost like a placeholder. And I heard this today. I want to give credit to Storm. And maybe I'll try to get him on for an interview. I was talking with him a little bit this morning, but he was talking about how like the NFTs right now and the PFP sides are just placeholders for all of these other NFTs with those actual utility, the connections to real world assets, et cetera, et cetera. It's just kind of the way that things are flowing right now in the evolution of everything. Now, that crazy blur farmer that had like triple the points of the closest farmer says that they are down $4.5 million farming blur season 3. If a few years ago someone had told me that we would be totally fine to lose 4.5 million, not sure we would have believed it. Now, the question is, do they make 4.5 million back? Do they make way more than that? Do they lose money? Again, they have an insane amount of points, so I think that they are going to make it, but damn, imagine being totally fine taking $4.5 million loss. Now, again, back to the pudgy post that we saw earlier for that gentleman who is streaming to basically nobody. His account actually blew up overnight, now at 480,000 followers on, I think this is TikTok. Looks like TikTok, yeah. And all the views upwards of $1 million. So that just shows you the power of virality. Okay, here's the people that aren't too happy with the whole flow news with Doodles. All the flows failed conquesting was done with our money. After making the cash register ring with Top Shot, rather than investing that revenue into scaling the product, it all went to an IP rights for NFL, UFC, Disney, Doodles, even scam artists like NFT, Genius, Dapper, a joke. Now, I don't really know the ins and outs of things. Like, it's weird that they're saying that they didn't put any money into scaling Top Shot. And like, is that true? Like, do we think that Top Shot hasn't really improved at all? We're still seeing a lot of the same complaints back when we were really into it. But if they actually did have to pay for all of those IP rights for things, like I thought those companies would come to them and say, hey, we know that you're able to launch these products. I mean, Disney Pinnacle's on Flow, right? Like, that's from all my understandings of like their private dealings, that's going extremely well. But I mean, if they had to pay for NFL, UFC, Disney Doodles, all that stuff, like, is it kind of like the D-Gods where they were offered by Polygon a couple million to move over there? They did and then went back. I don't know if they gave the money back or if they needed to, but I wonder if there's something funky in there and that's why Doodles moved. So tomorrow, Grapecoin, which is something that I've highlighted on the YouTube channel, I had a thing that was called like the Grapes Exposed, and they had like all these talks about how they were going to be integrating things within Roblox, Fortnite, all your like typical jargon, and it felt kind of weird. And I didn't mean anything bad by it, but I got so many comments on that of people being like, "Oh, you sold the bag and now you're FUD." And it's like, no, like I put out a video from it. Like I decided that I didn't really want to hold on to these things, and they ended up going to like friggin' 4 ETH and then absolutely dying because the team put the token on Binance. The liquidity super weird, bridging it costs like hundreds of dollars. It all felt really, really weird, to be totally honest, but it seems that they are having something special happening tomorrow, so we will see if the grapes have a resurgence, and I have extra pay attention to what's going on with Animoca brands and whatnot, because I think they are a big backer of that. Brian Brinkman here is saying, it saddens me that VCon built the start of a Web3 Comic-Con now seems to have pivoted towards mainly business and influencer seminars. I mean, I went to like the first VCon, and I was like, man, like these are just talks that are kind of like on X Spaces. I think it's okay. The booths are cool, but they're kind of small and like in an insanely crowded area. Would have been better if you could meet these different people, have those conversations. Sure, there might be opportunities, but I felt like there was a lot of behind the scenes green room things where people were able to go. So, you didn't run into a whole lot of people, but we need a place for artists to sell their work, connect with collectors, and collaborate with brands, preferably free and cheap entry. I generally agree with the sentiment overall here. I do think that it is really cool. Or it would be really cool if we did have kind of like a Web3 conference, kind of like NFT NYC, but it's not based on these topics and conversations and stuff. Like, show me the products, show me the cool things, have an area where people are able to hang out. Like, it doesn't need to be in some expensive area with all these things and you see the rooms and they're half empty. Like, there's got to be a way to do it. And maybe somebody can crowdfund it. We'll see. Maybe an idea for any of you event managers out there. Campbell saying, I think we're seeing a reset in the NFT industry. A lot of non-believers and gamblers have been shaken out. A lot of bad actors, grifters, and non-believers have been shaken out. Now the real builders, real community members, and real believers are the spotlight. Now, I don't really know about this take because, like, they're saying that non-believers shaking out, gamblers shaking out, yada yada. Like, I mean, people really believed on things, and the market like collapsed. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily things have gotten shaken out. Like, it's been a rough time if you've believed in the space and thought things would happen. There's been delays. Certain teams haven't been able to do things with massive amounts of funding. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily. I mean, like, that would be the people that would have non-believer aspect, right? Like hey, we got into something and it didn't end up working. And so, like, I don't know if we can ridicule them as such because it just happened that way. They had faith and it was lost. Okay, so apparently this meme coin thing is still going crazy. Again, there's like 400,000 of them just this year. But if you find the one, this guy's saying, Buddy here sold the new Billy token at a loss for $58, which is now worth $47,000. They put in $105 and now it's worth $47,000. Apparently this token has gone absolutely crazy and still going way up. We'll see what happens with it. I don't own any of it, just for clarification, but it is interesting to see almost every week some kind of different meme coin going crazy. So this is wild. And back to the conversation of the in-person events. What's going on? It says OXNGMI. What TF? They're out in the open advertising scamming services? Crypto Grab, a crypto draining service incorporated as an official company and even attended a conference, gave out merchandise and advertised. They were present at MAC affiliate conference this year in Armenia. Wow. Okay. So this space is just wild. We have draining services attending events, telling people, hey, we can do this. Unbelievable. Garga here from Bored Apes sharing some quick news. A few patent applications were filed under Yuga's previous leadership, and a couple of these have now been granted. To better align with the ethos that made us successful in the first place and democratize access for builders and creators, we've decided to donate these patents to open source communities. The first of these patents will be publishing later this week, and the donation should be finalized soon. I don't know what the hell that means, to be totally honest. So yeah, they're just giving patents out to the open. They're giving it to a bunch of communities. I mean, if you know what that means, give me the TLDR. Would absolutely love you. And CryptoPunks, final thing of the day, selling for 25 ETH. Our NFTs dead. Oh my goodness, what a crazy time within this space. Atari God, Divine Crypt, no, Toad, da na na da na na. Listen, if we get a Star Wars announcement this week, do we like it? Do we love it? It's funny because I'm trying to think of it in like for Cryptoys, for Cryptoad, they have the Star Wars thing. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But like, am I going out and buying it? I don't know. Praj.eth, Trader Pops. Who else we got in here? Buffalo Space, RDL, Ben Watson, and Mr. Jeremy Smith, and everybody that watches afterwards. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here. If you're going to watch the NBA Finals, enjoy. Hope your team wins. And of course, I got Mavericks.root and Celtics.root and NBA.root if you're interested in a .root.